everyone, welcome back to Country Cow Designs. I'm Jo, and in this short video we're just going to be answering some questions about the new sewing machine that we got for Adam, which was a Sailrite Fabricator. So we decided when he was coming to work with me in the business that we should really get him his own sewing machine, and we eventually decided on the Sailrite, which is an industrial sewing machine. It's not what we're using for designing patterns, it's just Adam's using it for leather work and that kind of thing. But we're going to answer the most common questions that we get asked about it, and some questions that you guys have put to us over the past few months. Now, this sewing machine is unfortunately not in this sewing room because we are completely maxed out on space in here. So Adam has been relegated to the corner of the dining room slash spare bedroom slash office, which is kind of our everything else room. And he's crammed in the corner in there. So we are going to go in there and put all of your questions to him. Okay, so we're going to ask Adam a few questions that people have put to him over the past few months. It's on Instagram and things like that, isn't it?
This feels a bit like sort of a chat show setup going on here.
Especially when Phoebe decided to join us. So just pretend she's not there. Okay, so the first question that I think you got asked quite a lot is, why did you choose the Sailrite Fabricator? Because there's a lot of industrial machines to choose from.
Yeah. There are many reasons, but ultimately what really secured it was just the way it looks.
Yeah.
I know that's really superficial and not the way to buy a sewing machine, but we've been looking for a while, hadn't we?
Yeah, and I'd shown Adam a few ones that are really popular on Facebook groups, mostly like Jukies and stuff. And I don't know if you've seen the one that Kasaya from Saya Swag uses, things like that. But you were just like, oh, they're grey, they're beige, they're white, they just don't look very nice. And because we're having it in the dining room, like we have people in here quite a lot, so you wanted it to look good, didn't you? But I would also say it's just kind of like a manly looking machine. And at the end of the day, like sewing is like very much, or it feels like it is when you're in Facebook groups and things like that, like dominated by women, that there's a lot more women involved in sewing, isn't it? So this machine was like, yeah, this is like the manliest machine we've seen, isn't it? So,
I just like the way it looks, but ultimately we were doing the research, looking at it. I like working with leather, as you may know if you've watched the channel before. This machine is set up to really sort of be suitable for leather, which we'll discuss a bit later on. The support from Sailrite, I read in advance through various reviews, and everyone said they're amazing with their support. So that kind of led us towards, because I'm a total newbie, I've never used an industrial before, so I know I would need a lot of support and tips and guidance. And Sailrite, I was told, were really good for that. So that's what we're going to look at.
And there's also, of course, like with the Sailrite, it doesn't come set up.
No.
You know? You have to like construct it yourself and put it all together. And there's loads of information on how to do that. But you're like a really handy kind of person, aren't you? So that, I think, appealed to you because then
I was happy to put it together.
Yeah, and then you know how it works. You know it inside out. You know that if something goes wrong with it, you put it together so you know what went wrong. And that means that you're feeling a lot more comfortable with it than if you just get something delivered and you've never put it together. You don't know how it works.
Yeah.
So that appealed to you, didn't it?
Yeah. So that's why we settled with it. I've not tried any other industrial sewing machines, so I can't compare it against any others. I think ultimately a good industrial machine is going to do a lot of good on any materials. So then it comes down to really what is your preference, whether you just like it, because it's not cheap. So if you're going to buy it, you need to like it, don't you?
Yeah, this is an expensive machine. Yeah, and I think, you know, for us it was worth it because Adam was coming from another business, our old business, and joining me in this business, and so we'd been saving whilst we had both running at the same time, and we just wanted you to have like a machine that you love that's going to last you for years and years and years, and that like kind of fits with you because you were giving up your business to come over to mine, so
I
you
want
needed
something I can really enjoy.
Exactly. So the next question that we got asked a lot, what are your favourite bits about this machine? So do you want to say, what do you love the most about it?
Because I wanted to work with leather as well as other things, it stitches really slow.
Really slow.
But really powerfully at the same time. And that was a big sort of thing for me. And I've been able to use that while stitching. You can really take, because especially with leather, you don't want to make a mistake, because once you've made the hole, it's there forever.
It's got like this special motor that lets you adjust the speed.
Yeah.
So you can have it on really fast, or you can slow it down, and then it's almost like you're hand cranking. It's so slow, but you've got both your hands on the fabric. It's amazing.
So that has been really nice, just working with it really slow and taking your time with it. I've really enjoyed that about it. It comes with additional feet that are really easy to work with, and that's great. The table, I wasn't really thinking about this. When the table was height adjustable, and you might notice I've got it quite high. I like a high table, so having the adjustment in the table height, that was actually a real big bonus in the end, which I was really happy with. I've found it reasonably easy to use. Now, I don't know whether I've happened to stumble upon that, because I've heard some people say they struggle with tension settings and things like that.
I think I know the answer to that, and that is that you are not afraid to just try everything. And I think, whereas some of us like feel like, oh, what if I break it? If I keep turning this and I keep doing that, what if I make it worse? You're just like, I'm going to give it a try. And so Adam got the machine and then just spent like 3 weeks just trying every material and just turning all the tension knobs.
Well, I started
all the time until you were really happy with them.
I started with this, didn't I? Because you were working on the Toulouse 3, so you said, can you make a Toulouse 1? Which is using fairly thin fabrics, most of it. So I thought if I start with something that's quite thin, which I've been told was quite challenging on a big industrial, so I had to just change all the tension settings to make this work. When I got this working, I basically started just getting thicker and thicker and heavier and heavier. And I think that really helped, because I had to change everything, the bobbin tensions, the lot.
Yeah.
And now I'm really happy just to change tensions as I'm sewing, going through layers. I still get it a bit wrong. Sometimes it's too tight, sometimes it's too loose. I think it happens on any sewing machine.
But I think the biggest thing is you need to not be afraid of just changing it. Yeah. But you cannot expect to be able to sew the leather and then just sew cotton. Like, you have to change all the tensions, don't you, in between. So it's like worth the time. You invest the time in getting used to the tensions. It's worth it, isn't it?
But it's been great. It's never once bogged down. It will generally sew through anything. Another YouTuber that we watched, and we will put links to a bunch of videos that I watch, who know this way more than I do.
Yeah.
Are a better resource than me. But they said if it goes under the foot, then it will sew, and they generally weren't kidding. So it's great. It's really accurate, really slow, really powerful, quite easy to use, and the support has been fantastic.
Yeah, they get back to you so quickly. And if you're in Britain, it's even more handy, because you're always like sat down in the evening thinking, oh, I need to ask them this, and they're open because they're in America, so it's only like the beginning of the day for them.
It's little things like you get this little guidebook with it, and the detail they go into about threading it, troubleshooting, all those little details, even changing the setup to work with really light threads. That's just little things like that. It's been great. So yeah, I wouldn't send it back. Really happy with the purchase and love it.
So you like how it looks, you like how powerful it is, you like how slow you can stitch on it.
Yeah.
And that you can go through pretty much anything. So what don't you like about it?
Yeah, there are. When I say things I don't like, it's being picky. It's in the detail, really.
I think you need to be picky when you're spending this much money on something.
Yeah, I guess that's probably the first downside, but that's specific to the UK. When we to bring it into the UK, we had to pay duty and taxes on it, which almost cost £500, which that adds such a cost to the whole machine. It does sort of diminish the value of getting it compared to, say, another brand. But, you know, we knew that in advance. We were happy to take that hit. So that was a bit of a shame. And obviously, it coming in like 5 boxes, that didn't bother me. But when you do spend that much money, a lot of people will wish that it was pre-assembled. And I get why, but I'm happy with that. I can live with that.
I think you need to be a little bit brave to put it all together, because I was feeling intimidated when I saw all the boxes and all the parts. And you've got really, really detailed instructions on putting it together, and loads of videos. Good. And still, I was thinking, oh, I'm glad it's not me that's doing it.
It took me like a whole afternoon, a long afternoon, didn't it?
Yeah, and you're handy, so you know.
Yeah, I had the tools to do it. Things I don't like about it. The original stock foot that comes with it, I think I used it once, took it off, and it's never been back on again. It's not a symmetrical foot. It's got it's a different size either side of the centre of it. And I like to stitch both sides of a foot, left and right, I guess you could say.
Yeah,
so
Adam's kind of ambidextrous with his sewing. It's very weird. Something else that you don't like is there isn't like markings on the plate for 3/8 of an inch, you know, 1/2 inch, 1/4 of an inch. So you bought the magnetic seam guide, didn't you?
So I bought this, which just goes onto the base, onto the plate.
So you measure where your seam is and you put it down, and it's really sturdy and it's really good. But if you've got clips, you know, when you're making bags, you use Wonder clips.
You can catch it.
Yeah, they just catch on it, which is very frustrating.
And if working with really heavy material, it can move if you're not being careful. So
if anybody can suggest somewhere to get a custom plate made, which has like the markings for the seam allowances, please let us know.
Yeah, it's got 1/4 and 1/2 inch. It just hasn't got the 3/8, which for bag making is it's a bit of an essential one. So
you can tell I haven't used this machine because I didn't realise it even has. Yeah.
So that's a bit of a shame. This light is part of sort of the extra upgrades.
Yeah.
It's great, but because it attaches to the side of the table, you always feel that it's in the wrong place. So I think the stock one comes mounted on top of the machine, which I almost feel would be better. So it's fine, but I wouldn't have paid extra for it separately. But it came with the upgrade package. But there you go, that's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, when you are on the Sailrite website, they've got like the standard package and the luxury package. The actual machine is exactly the same. There's nothing different about it. It's just all about like the table and the light and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's it. A plastic drawer underneath, I think that's a bit cheap considering how much I paid for it. But if you get the impression I'm being really picky.
Because there's not much that you don't like, so you're trying to find something that you don't like.
I'm trying to be balanced, but ultimately I love the machine. And based on my extremely limited knowledge, I would recommend it.
Phoebe doesn't like the drawer either.
No.
Okay, sorry. If you can hear the cat purring, I do apologise. Okay, so the third question that you get asked quite a lot is, if you were going to buy it again, which parts would you buy? Is there any parts that you bought that you wish you'd bought? That sort of thing. Now we kind of went all out because we were ordering it from America and the shipping, you know, is pretty high.
We bought everything pretty much.
Yeah, we thought, right, if we don't buy that presser foot and then we realise we should have, we're going to have to pay shipping again. So we kind of went a little bit overboard and bought everything. So which feet? Let's start with the feet. Which feet do you love the most?
I think we got all that pretty much correct. So we got the narrow foot, that's what's on at the moment. That's probably...
That one you do love, don't you?
Probably the one that stays on the most for general bag making.
And you use nice that and narrow. For zips, don't you?
Yeah, for zips.
Yeah, so you don't necessarily need to buy a zip foot.
Yeah, that's really good. The leather foot, which has a smooth feed dog underneath it, so you don't damage the leather. If you want to do leather, that's really essential. So we got that, and I actually use it.
That comes with the feed dogs without
the feed dogs
as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's totally smooth. I actually use the leather foot quite a lot for just general bag making because it's a really nice size. We've got a side guide foot, haven't we? Yes,
which has like a guide. So when you're top stitching a bag, it you know, it gives you like the perfect 1/8 of an inch seam allowance the whole way. Yes, it's really good.
So that's really nice.
Oh, and you've got a piping foot, haven't you?
I've got two sides of the piping foot. They're really nice. I've used those for doing piping and projects. It's a bit of a shameless plug, but if you do look at my Instagram account, which is Adam and his Pheobe, which is just me trying to work out how to use this plus some other projects, I've got lots of reels of using different feet setup. Again, I won't call them tutorials, but you might get an idea of what I'm talking about with the different setups.
And what each one looks like.
Yeah, so they're really good. I think
those are all the feet that you like.
I got all the feet. We brought like a bunch of spare bobbins, loads of threads. We brought a whole load of needles.
Yes, we
probably more than what we needed because it already came with some needles.
Yeah, so they don't tell you that it comes with needles. So we thought we'll buy a bunch of needles, and then it does actually already come with a few needles. So
yeah, but I think
it already came with some thread, but we didn't realise that, so we bought more thread, and yeah. And you've been trying out different threads. So what threads would you recommend? Because you get like different thicknesses.
Yeah.
I think Tex is the most common, like Tex 70, Tex 90, Tex 35. It's like the thickness of the thread.
So Tex 70 and 90 is what I tend to use. That's what I bought some thread from Sailrite. I really like that thread. It worked really nicely.
Got some from eBay as well that you like as well.
Yeah, what was the brand? I did make a name of a name down there.
Oh no, that was the Amazon one. Aussel, Aussel. Yes, so that was the one that you got from Amazon. You liked that?
That's been fine.
Yeah.
So that's the threads. The needles we got from Sailrite, and I tend to use a size 100 or 120. That's pretty much it, really. I'm just tend to it's mostly the same needle. I just change it depending on the material, not really change your thread size.
Bear in mind that if you're brand new to industrial sewing machines, they have different needles to domestics, so you can't just like use your domestic sewing machine needle in it. And it's the same with, you know, bobbins. Everything's totally different. The bobbins are massive. So
yeah, which is great. If those sort of standards or measurements we just used don't make sense to you, Sailrite actually have a full conversion chart on their website, and I think in their guidebook of if it's a Tex 70, what does it mean on this standard or this standard?
Yes.
So that's a little resources like that mean you're not scared to go online and look through threads or needles, because at some point you'll find the right measurement.
yeah,
Because Sailrite guide you through it.
in the UK they don't really use the Tex, or they don't. Whenever you're shopping on eBay for thread, they call it 60s or 40s. So I think you've got some 60s, which I reckon is equivalent to Tex 70, but I'm not really sure. But yeah, check out the Sailrite website. So we've covered feet, bobbins and needles. Yeah, I think that's about everything. And thread. So compared to a domestic, what do you think? Because you have been using my Bernina 930 a little bit, haven't you?
Yeah, we did that, and I used the old Singer we used to have, which sadly had to go since we got this.
So what do you think of this compared to using my Bernina? How do you feel about it?
I think it's the walk-in fit that makes probably the biggest difference. The control you get from a really good walk-in fit.
Everything moves at nice consistent speed, no matter how sticky your fabric is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously the power is more powerful than a domestic. That's a given. And you can work with thicker threads and bigger needles and all that sort of stuff. And it works with leather. So there's things I can do now on this that I couldn't do before on the domestic sewing machine.
Yep.
But because changing a setup takes a little bit longer than a domestic, because there's so many more things to change.
In the tensions
and things. You do tend to restrict yourself a little bit. So sometimes I've been making some bags and I think, right, I've got to do a lining.
Yeah, and then I find him on my machine because he's like, I don't want to change all the tensions.
Yeah.
I'm going to go on your domestic and make the lining on your domestic.
Or sometimes I'll think, Joe, I'm just going to make it out of like really heavy waterproof canvas or thick wax canvas because I know it'll be fine. So you can restrict yourself on what you do materials wise, which is a bit of a shame. And I guess we're quite fortunate to have a very good domestic on hand, so we can do that, which...
I think if this was your only machine, you would struggle. I kind of feel like you would never be able to do any lighter fabrics like without having to change all your tensions, which is a pain. So if it was your only machine, I'd prefer to have a domestic if it was my only machine. What about you?
I think because you hear sort of the semi-industrials, don't you? Sort of the tabletop industrial, which I can see being a great compromise, although they're pretty much the same price as a full industrial, so that's what you pay for. I think also domestics, they're easier to use. They're probably easier to maintain in a nice sort of quick, simple way. Yeah. Although this can run longer between services, it's a much bigger thing to do because you've got to change oils from the sump and everything.
Yeah. You don't have to oil it like you do with a domestic machine. There's just a huge oil tray that does most of the oiling for you, and then you just do a tiny bit.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
Domestics sound nicer.
Yeah, this one does sound like there's a machine going. Yeah.
It sounds like what it is, a huge motor under the table.
Yeah.
So domestics sound nicer, and you know, when I've done video of this, it doesn't sound that nice on the video, so I tend to just put music over it because it hasn't got that nice noise of a domestic sewing machine. I think they're the main differences. Obviously, capabilities, but they're obviously focused to different ends of the scale, aren't they? In the ideal world, you have a domestic and an industrial, but
That depends whether you got space for it, because
space and money, which for a lot of people that's on short supply. So we're really fortunate.
Well, fortunate that our dining room, spare bedroom, office that does just about have enough room in this room for a sewing machine. Yeah. So we are fortunate. Our spare room is being pushed to the max, but it means we've got space. So
yeah, absolutely.
So I think that is all of the questions. The only thing I did want to say, I've seen a lot of people on Facebook groups saying like, "Oh, Sailrites aren't that great. They're no better than domestics." But whenever I've asked those people, it turns out they have a Sailrite Ultra Feed, which is totally different to a Sailrite Fabricator. And the Ultra Feed is classed as a semi-industrial, whereas this is a full industrial. So if you're looking at one for bag making, from the sounds of it, the Ultra Feed isn't really that much better than a domestic. So if you want to have everything, then you might as well just go for the Fabricator. And I don't think the prices were very different anyway.
Not a lot. For what the more you can do with this, it seems this is better value. But then it is a bigger machine.
Ultra Feed is like a mobile one. I mean, it looks like it's really heavy, but you can move it around. Whereas with one of these, you can not move it because it's built into the table. Yeah. So, this is staying where it is.
I think, as I said, we will put links to videos that I've personally watched. For example, one guy does upholstery for cars, and another lady's a bag maker. And to be fair, some rate it, and some actually say it's not actually good value for money, which I can see where they're coming from. So we'll put all those, try and give you an overview. As I said, I'm not one to give a review. All I can say is personally, I love it, and I'm glad we got it. That's for sure.
Coming from somebody who's never tried any other industrial services. But he loves it, so that's good. So hopefully you'll be making more and more like leather things. As I design patterns and Adam designs patterns, we're making them all on our domestic sewing machine, but then Adam is making the odd one, like that Datham, on the industrial, so that it's actually so he can check that the pattern is kind of industrial friendly as well, because there's some things that you can't do as easily on an industrial, particularly because you can't remove the table like you can, and then you've got the arm on a domestic machine and you can sew around the arm of the machine.
I think
you can't do that on an industrial.
This is the point in question, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's denim, but with the layers,
I could not have sewn on my domestic. I think that's everything from our notes. That's all the questions that everybody had. So
I hope that gives you a bit of an idea why we got it. But just to reaffirm, all patterns from Country Cow Designs are domestic focus. People always get really worried when we talk about an industrial.
But you don't have to worry, because I've never used this and I'm not going to.
Well, you say that. So you did do a strap on this.
I did. Adam insisted that I give it a try, so I did a strap. But I do not want to sew on this, because I'm a little bit worried that I'm going to love it so much that I won't want to go back to Benina, and I'm not going to do that to Benina. So
no, you can do pretty much most things are domestic.
I'm sure there's a lot of vinyls that I could sew on here. I don't tend to use vinyl. I try to avoid it on the domestic.
Especially multiple layers of it.
Yeah. Whereas on this, sure, I could sew something, entirely vinyl, but
Joe did a video, didn't he, a few months ago about how to sew on a domestic, and you very much proved the point that with a bit of forethought, you can sew pretty much anything on it, any design anyway.
The right fabrics and using the right needles. Yeah.
I guess we could perhaps just conclude the video with what's coming up next for Country Cow Designs. Some of the things we've got in the works.
What have we got coming up, Adam?
You're gonna have to remind me. A huge stock arrival is coming very soon. Stock
arrival, yes.
With a new hardware colour, isn't it, that you've sort of commissioned. So that's coming really soon.
That's our brushed copper range, which I'm so excited about. But we've had a lot of problems with, there's a lot of supply issues with manufacturing and stuff like that, and shipping. So everything's been quite delayed, but we're almost there.
We've had some samples on the website, but the whole lot's coming, isn't it?
It's actually in transit now.
Yeah.
So come on, yeah. So that's any day now.
And you've got about 10 patterns floating around in your head, and you're trying to work out which one to do first.
And I know which one I want to do first, and Adam says I can't, because it's he says no.
It's another backpack. I'm we just did the Datham sling, so you've got a sort of large large handbag thing, haven't you, that you want to do?
That Adam wants me to do first. So we'll soon find out which one comes first, depending which one of us wins this debate.
And we've got like a few little free videos, like keyring videos and little things that we've got in the works, haven't we?
Yeah, we've got a few things planned. It's just when we get round to them. Yeah, we've got lots of ideas and it's just when we get round to them, isn't it?
Yeah.
So,
I do.
So thanks for joining us, everybody. And we will hope to see you soon. Happy sewing. Bye.